I have waited far too long to make this video. It is the last second here, and I guess just better late than never. NASCAR's back.
Lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the.
On my light so you can see me, but what is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be talking about some major storylines going into the re-2020 seasons. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the 2020 season, I guess, even though we already did 4 races, so it's kind of confusing. But if you guys do enjoy, make sure you like, hit the subscribe button, and comment down below. And basically what we're going to be doing is we're just going to break down some of the storylines that started on the season, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on what I think will happen. Not really like in depth, but you know, just kind of a general thing. And actually, we do have some good news for Alex Bowman fans. He just got re-signed to a new contract through the 2021 season. So anybody who was worried about Alex Bowman not getting a ride next year due to sponsorship has now been silenced. It's okay. Alex Bowman fans, you're good. And I had a feeling this was going to happen. I didn't have any doubts that Alex Bowman would be coming back, especially with the start of the season. If he's able to keep that coming, he's starting second tomorrow. Jeez, oh Pete, NASCAR's back tomorrow. That's awesome. But sorry, I gotta stop that. But he's starting second tomorrow, so if he can capitalize, that would be great. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So I think the most exciting thing, and it could be a bad or good thing, is that this is a completely unpredictable format we're under for the foreseeable future. The qualifying is random. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's like a way, like you can't have like somebody in the back like Corey LaJoie, no offense, you know, get up to the front. I'm not 1,000% sure on the qualifying system, but still, it's random. It's not like the fastest car is getting the pole position. It's completely random, not completely, but pretty random. And there's no practice. Once you get on that track and the green flag lies, or flies, not lies, sorry. That is the first laps you're logging on the track since, at least in the case of Darlington, since last year at Darlington. And that is something that could either be good or bad. The good thing is that, you know, you could have somebody like Kyle Busch start 20th. I swear, if he actually started 20th, that'd be kind of cool, but that's just kind of a guess. And come right up to the front like he usually would. Or you could have, you know, you don't know what's going to happen, because you could have, the leaders might not have a good setup on. And that's another thing. You don't have time to test your setup. So when you go out on the track, you're running a setup that you have not tested, and you don't know how it's going to go. You can either be really good or really bad. And it's kind of, a lot of it's going to be heavily based on last year's stats. But something I do want to point out is that some of these tracks are going to be ran at different times in the year, different times in the day. So last year's setup might not work as much as it did this year. So it's going to be a combination of, you know, just having the dumb luck on a good setup. And one thing I do want to point out, that without any practice, without any qualifying, I have a feeling drivers, and with this uncertainty of how their setup is going to drive, I have a feeling drivers are going to be a little more cautious than they normally would be on a weekend. Because think about it, if you have not ran laps at Darlington, regardless, I mean, veterans are definitely going to have a huge advantage here, but if you haven't ran that many laps at Darlington, you're probably going to take the first stage, maybe some of the second stage, to get accustomed to it, get your setup right. But that does give an advantage to somebody who has a good setup at the beginning, because if they know this is the setup they're probably going to run with, or very close to it, throughout the race, then why would you let off? You want to push that setup as much as you can. So it creates a lot of different, you know, stuff going on in the race. I would say that I do expect them to be a little more cautious. I'm very interested to see how Matt Kenseth, somebody who's never even driven on this package, does. But all in all, it's going to be very interesting to see. I think at the end of the day, at the end of the race, it's going to maybe create a better product. Maybe at the beginning, because you're going to have cars in the back, I can almost guarantee you, that are faster than the cars in front of them, and they're going to have to make their way through the field. But it's going to be interesting to see, and obviously I'll talk about this effect, see, like, kind of compare what I just said to what actually happened in the race in my post-race review. So there's that. But that's enough about this. This has been a 3-minute rant, so we're going to go ahead on to the next one. So the sad part is the storylines heading into this were actually finally focused on the young drivers actually showing their talent. And like I said in my previous clip, that I'm not 1,000% sure how this will affect. You can't tell me that veterans won't have an advantage on the young drivers in this situation because they've obviously logged more laps, but I don't know how big of a gap it could be. It could just be this much of an advantage or this much of an advantage. I mean, who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, talking about the storylines that started this season, there were plenty of them. And like I said, a lot of them were actually centered around our young drivers. Starting with our young drivers, Alex Bowman, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, all three looked like legitimate championship contenders going through the first 4 races. Blaney, he could have won the first 3 races easily. Bowman won and dominated Auto Club. Had a very good shot at winning Las Vegas had there not been, had he not pit, had he not, had there not been a caution there at the end. Blaney the same. He was leading, I think, at the time. Chase Elliott had the fastest car at Las Vegas all day. So those are 3 drivers that are seemingly, of course, 4 races. And again, this is a very different, circumstance here that could completely alter their season, if they come back and just aren't, clicking as well. But anyways, assuming they do, those 3 are the next generation of drivers, and it looks like they're making that big step up to championship contention. Chase Elliott has kind of been there. Ryan Blaney's kind of been there. Alex Bowman has really come out of nowhere. Like, we knew he was talented, but he really came out of the gate strong. So if those guys can keep it up, that's definitely going to be a main storyline, seeing this next generation of drivers, people that maybe not so much Alex Bowman, but I do. But, there are probably some people that don't see Alex Bowman. But in the future of the sport, those guys are going to be competing for championships against each other, neck and neck all the time. So that's something that I am kind of excited for. But I'm not the biggest Joey Logano fan. I will have to admit he's had a great start to the season, has been a clear championship favorite, winning 2 races, one at Vegas, one at ISM, and he just had a great start. And it hasn't necessarily been just his speed. Obviously he had to be fast to be where he's at, but he hasn't been the fastest car in either of his wins. He just happened to be there at the end and, closed the race. Yes, I do compare him to, not Kyle, but Kevin Harvick, and how he would seemingly not have the fastest car at any race, just kind of chill in the top 5, all of a sudden put his name in the ring and get that win. So I would say he has had a similar start to Kevin Harvick, or at least the 2 races he's won have reminded me somewhat of a Kevin Harvick closer. Speaking of Kevin Harvick, he is the current points leader, and he is also a championship favorite, as he's been very consistent, just hasn't quite grasped that win yet. But yeah, so far, so good for Logano and Harvick. I would say those 2 are the clear favorites, and then you got the 3 young guys I mentioned, and of course Kyle Busch has to be there as well. So speaking of Kyle Busch has easily been the bright spot for Toyota, and it's been a very dark elsewhere for Toyota. Even Kyle Busch's standards, has been kind of mediocre, I guess you could say. But I'm sure that'll change because he's Kyle Busch. But anyways, look, the rest is Toyota. I'm not even talking about JGR, just Toyota as a whole. Daniel Suarez didn't make the Daytona 500, then died at the beginning of the Las Vegas race. If we move on to Denny Hamlin, he just kind of been the median. He hasn't been terrible like the other guys, but he hasn't looked like himself last year. Eric Jones has been non-existent. Christopher Bell hasn't even finished a race yet, has he? And then it's the other guy, Martin Truex Jr. is looking like his DEI days. He hasn't even finished inside the top 10 yet. So a rough start for Toyota and JGR. Personally, as I'm not complaining because they've dominated the damn sport. It's about time they slowed down a little bit, but I don't see any reason why they would come back in stride, because it's JGR. It's kind of like Tom Brady. Or you just expect Tom Brady to always win, or LeBron James. You always expect him to win. JGR. Yeah, you always see all these guys, the guys I mentioned, they might have a down year or something, or just a down stretch, but you always expect them to come back, and it's just really hard to bet against them. I can't just sit here and say JGR is going to be looking like they were then it came in. I'm sure they'll find a way to make it work. That's why they got there in the first place, and I don't expect them to stop, but I'm not going to complain for however long it lasts. They're kind of downturn, so All in all, seeing if JGR can, come back to its glory, or will it, kind of pull a Hendrick or something, die, and, maybe revived a little bit later like Hendrick kind of has, which we'll get into in a minute. But we'll have to wait and see. That's definitely going to be a big storyline, though, JGR's performance. We'll have to see how it is. But like I said, up to this point, it's been pretty mediocre. Good job. A little time in between this one and the last one, so I feel like a little different. That is why I feel a little sweaty. That's why there's a little time in between this one and the last one. But anyways, next up on the storyline list is Hendrick Motorsports. We've already talked about Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott having strong starts this season, but Jimmy Johnson as well has had sort of a resurgence over the past few years. Obviously, he has not looked like the Jimmy Johnson we've come to expect, and he still doesn't, but he has looked a lot better than in previous seasons. So seeing that uptrend for Jimmy Johnson is definitely a nice thing to see, and it's a great storyline considering this is very likely about a 99% chance this is his final full-time season. And it'd be nice to see him send off with maybe not a championship, but a win or two and a solid playoffs finish. Who knows, maybe Jeff Gordon where he finishes in the round of 4, and anything can happen then. So, but nice to see his resurgence. But William Byron, throughout these first 4 races, he hasn't been terrible, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been any better. He hasn't improved, he hasn't worsened, I would say. I would say they were kind of hitting a stride there. If you take out the kind of end of the last season, he's kind of like before that kind of stride that hit at the end of last season around the playoffs. He's looking like he kind of regressed from that point. And again, it's 4 races. You can't really make a clear judgment on whether this is something that we might want to come to expect or not. But it was kind of weird to see him kind of regress from that great ending they had last year. But I'm sure it was just a couple of rough races. Hopefully Byron can turn it around, but all in all, it's been a great season for Hendrick so far. Again, it's only been 4 races. I can't stress that enough. But them and Penske have definitely been the clear favorites. Another mini storyline is Brad Keselowski at Penske. Brad Keselowski has obviously been a topic of discussion in the NASCAR community, as he is the current leading candidate for that 48 job, seeing if maybe he gets frustrated or if he struggles. He had a good start to the season, so maybe not, but he has been given the short end of the stick there. I don't see why he's not going to go to the 48. The more and more I hear from him, the more and more I believe he's going to go to the 48. But interesting storyline to watch for is if maybe he gets frustrated with the team or something. Maybe he starts underperforming. Just some stuff to watch out for there I wanted to briefly mention. Another one I wanted to mention was Matt Kenseth, and Matt Kenseth, as we know, was not planning on running the entire season, but he is actually coming back, and it's not really going to be a huge storyline, but it is, I do think, a storyline. Seeing how Matt Kenseth does, he's able to, he's talented. You can't tell him he's not talented, so if he can go out there and get a win or two, that completely changes maybe his case for the Hall of Fame. If he gets a good finish there, it's another great season that he has on some other drivers, so interesting to see. I don't know if that's really a big storyline, but it's something that I personally am interested to see Matt Kenseth, how he does in this equipment and this package, and if he's able to translate his talent over to it. So we'll have to wait and see. I do think it's going to be a learning curve. I think the first couple of races might be a little dodgy, but I think by the end of the season we might see Matt Kenseth hit his stride, and who knows, anything's possible. That's all I really got. I'm kind of being repetitive here, so I'm just going to end it off on that. Let me know what you guys think. What are your expectations for Darlington? Who do you think is going to win? And what do you expect for? We just got a bunch of new tracks announced, so I'm excited for those. Glad to see Talladega and Bristol. I think Bristol got one, didn't it? Sorry if I got that wrong, but those 2 tracks get their dates still, and 2 Bristol races. Oh my God, that's my favorite track. I am in heaven right now, so that's going to be exciting. But like I said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Be sure to like if you enjoyed. It really helps my ego. And hit the subscribe button too if you guys want to see more. And if you guys want to see my post-race thoughts, and we'll have to wait and see. I won't be too negative on them. Even if it's a bad race, I won't be too negative because I'm just happy to have sports. And also, if you guys are wondering, the reason why I didn't post for a week is because of school. I probably would, the post-race thoughts will probably be the only thing this upcoming week, but once I'm done with school, we'll be back on the usual schedule. But there's just a lot of stuff going on right now in school, so I just wanted to focus on that. And that is, I think that's it. I think I've basically drawn out the outro about as long as I can, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.